Hello and welcome. This is going to be a helpful use of your time, about 20 minutes, maybe less. I want it to be short and sharp. If you know you're showing up, you're doing the work, you've read the books, you've listened to the podcast, you're taking the courses, you're doing the mentorship, and it feels like there's still something missing. Like, why isn't it working? If you can kind of take yourself through every trauma, everything that's happened, like you can put the pieces of all your puzzle together and be like, I know totally and utterly why I am the way I am, why I show up in life the way I show up. Like, I get it, but I really want it to be different now. What I'm going to take you through today is tangible, actionable things that you're going to take away that are so easy. Your heart and your soul are going to go, thank God that you're going to see results, and those results, your brain's going to be on board and being like, I like this, let's do more of this. And then it's this beautiful new karmic evolution and cycle which will take you to that more, that your heart keeps saying there's more than this, there's more than this, because you're absolutely right, there is. And this is going to be, I hope, really helpful. So if that is you, I'm glad that you are here, and I want to give you the teeniest, tiniest little bit of context about how I am in the space where I am banging on about being anxiety free when I never ever thought that that would be possible for me. The thing that forced me, let's be honest, I was forced into this, was having children and realizing I wasn't being the best mom, realizing my marriage wasn't the best it could be, and starting to realize everything isn't as good and rosy as what I'm trying to make it out to be. And I was diagnosed with unexplained lower body paralysis, which is where my body just literally stopped working from the hips down. And as movement started to come back, I was very ill. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, but nobody knew what was wrong with me. So I started to realize I had to go on this different path. One of the last doctors that saw me, he literally once me over and he looked at me dead in the eye. I was so mad with him. And he went, there's nothing wrong with your body. This is all in your mind. Anyway, he was dead right, which annoyed me. I would love to remember. I blanked him out of my mind for years, but I'd love to know who he is now, because he was a gift, an angel that put me onto a different path. So I tried the more traditional therapies, which is what I started with, in that if you know the ins and outs and why you're so messed up. And that's what I was like, I know, okay, I see it. I'm not as happy as I thought. Things aren't as great. It doesn't matter how much I plan them. So what now? So I went to the more traditional therapies and became even more well established in those things and everything that was wrong with me. I was like, yes, but what? So then I went to the other extreme. This is my middle path tattoo. So I jumped to the other extreme, and I'm now best friends with monks. Like, I teach at the temple. My this I call him the Don. And I've got a little picture of him. This is his WhatsApp. He's just the best guy. He's the leader of worldwide Buddhism, and one of his temples is next to the reclining Buddha in Thailand, if you're ever there. But one of them is 20 minutes up the road from me, and he teaches Vipassana meditation. And so I went to learn from the best people about meditation, and I love it, and I'm so passionate about it all. But I was like, this isn't it either. It's something different. And what that different thing is, I'm going to explain to you today. The ins, the out. You're not going to be left at the end thinking, well, what now? It's like I'm giving you everything that I use to take myself from being paralyzed with fibromyalgia, night terrors every night, multiple times a night. When me and the girls would go away, they would literally draw straws as to who was going to sleep with me, because they knew I'd just be psycho in my sleep. I went from that, being an anxious mess about everything, to, I don't say this with a light heart, I always check myself and I'm like, really? To being anxiety free, to not allowing my anxious thoughts to dictate and determine my life. I'm going to show you to being in love with my husband, to having the best babies who are 9 and still want to hold my hand and want to spend time with us, and they're great kids. Like, they've got lovely, they're not like the psycho kids. And everyone's like, all right, Wayno, they're great kids with beautiful friendships and relationships outside of us. But I figured some really cool stuff out and I need to share it. So, the Don, if you know and you can take me through A created B, and my mom and dad are this, and then this happened, and my sister came along and she's got this, and she projected. If you can take me through the tapestry of where it kind of went in a different way that would have been most helpful for you, it's probably that there's a good chance, which is my natural tendency. I love being in my head still now. I still use the work every day, that you're moving from the top down. So if we were look at you energetically, you would have this vast, expansive, like awakening and awareness. Like, I know there's more. I know I'm here to receive more. I know I'm different. I know these things, but I don't quite know what to do with it. And it's like this top down, top heavy triangle. And what the question that I ask myself is, when you're doing the work, when you're in the courses, when you're in the coaching, when you're in the therapy, when you're reading the books and you're listening to the podcasts, do you see your practice as being outside of that? Because I know I would go to therapy and I'd be like, why aren't I fixed yet? I would go to the temple and meditate and be, why aren't I fixed yet? Like, what's going wrong? And then I'd leave that space and I'd go out into my life, which being a human is nuts. When you then go and step out into like reality, all of those things melt away because all of the shit storms that you're trying to navigate are right on top of you, and you don't have your therapist there being like, well, approach it like this. You're like, what did she say? What did they tell me to? How active do you feel like you're taking your practice away from that? And I call it active thinking time, because this is a really cool, if you're relating to like the bottom up, you're like, yeah, I have the knowledge, I can tell you what, but I'm not integrating it, I'm not embodying it. Using this system that I've created, that I created for myself. You'll see me in colorful hats, you'll see a little rainbow of characters. I call it the Alice in Wonderland of mindset, because they are my sensory reminders all of the time to keep this work alive. So, how? I'm going to take you through. When I was looking in my desperation and in all the podcasts and in all the books, like I read, and I read, and I read, and I reread the same things over and over again because there's always more. It's like the fine formula going deeper and deeper. The same seven things were coming up in the West, in the East. I don't care who you were. If you were active in expansion as a human and you wanted to expand into your moreness, you were saying one of these seven things. The people that are doing things, if you have read Tom Green's Mastery, the people that are the masters of their work, they are all doing these same seven things, different strengths, different iterations, but it's the same thing. So very briefly, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm not telling you anything that you haven't read a million times, but I am going to show you how to bring it out of your mind, out of your practice on the mat and into the world. So, to expand into the more that your heart and soul are craving, you need to put your mind on mute. You need to be out of your overthinking, out of your people pleasing, and you need to be in your body, in your heart, in your intuition, and trusting that above and beyond that. So being able to put the mind on mute. Triggers, we all know triggers, glimmers, however you want to do it, the alchemy of using this world and all the people who are around us that are just as nuts as we are, but probably aren't doing the work at the level that you are, and recognizing where those triggers are actually coming in to teach you something so that you can shift out of this paradigm into the next, which is stepping into your moreness. So we know that being able to interpret and not be reactive but be responsive to triggers is really important. That fiend in your brain, the voice of every person that has ever doubted you, going back to when you were teeny tiny, you know that those voices and those people exist. Soul, have you seen it, Pixar Soul, when 22 is just so lost and she's in this shadowland, and all of those voices are like the people, and they come up as sandstorms, and like, oh my god, this is the most beautiful metaphor and representation of, I call her Frances, and she's the pink one, and she's a fiend inside your brain, and it's every negative voice. You know not to listen to her. You've read all the information being like, don't listen to her, and you're like, yeah, but my dad was such an ass to me. Like, his voice is just there in everything that I do. You know you shouldn't listen, and yet. So we're going to look at that. I'm going to show you. Thankfulness, gratitude. If you've read The Secret, which you possibly have, or go away and read it if you haven't, most of us have. that feeling gratitude and feeling grateful for things is so blooming important for you to be able to land in this moment. And it's only from this moment that we're able to manifest more. If you're not grateful, nothing new's coming until you can alchemize what you've got and be like, oh my God, like literally, I'm going to show you. Feeling your feelings, not just soldiering on, not just being strong, not just like being brave and taking the weight on. I was talking to somebody today whose dad's just died, and all she was talking about is how brave she's being and how brave and strong her mom's been. And I was like, it is okay if you need to have a mental breakdown because right now, and it's just news to her. Feeling our feelings, but not being consumed by them, not falling down a hole to never return like we've done in the past whenever we've got anywhere close to feelings, in a really different way. Sitting, meditation, breath work, we're going to be going into some of that in a minute, and surrender, being able to recognize that you as a being on this planet with 8 billion other people on a spinning sphere in endless space, you're not meant to know with your cognitive mind, you're meant to know at a deeper part of you. But that makes no sense, does it? So it's being able to take these 7 areas that are fundamental in everything and actually applying them to your life. And here's how I do it and how I've transformed my world. I come back to that. So it's doing that, having this awareness of the 7 areas as you're going through your life. That's the top heavy stuff. Right now it's in the conscious mind and we want to bring it into the body. How do we do that? We do that by working from the bottom up, working from this embodied space of being able to land inside the body. When we can recognize and see the top heavy stuff, being like, oh, the top down stuff is coming in. I have the mental awareness. I have the clarity. I can tell you the stories. I can see the tapestry. I know how it bleeds into one of these 7 areas. Like I'm on it. I know that's my monkey being nuts and I'm overthinking this. Like I recognize I'm overthinking it. Why aren't we able to do anything in it? It's because we're only working top down. Now we want to be bringing in bottom up. We want to be recognizing where that is happening within us, what energy center that is calling us into, and creating honestly the ease of the practices. And I'm going to take you through one in a minute. I'm going to give you an example that you can go out today and play with and show your brain, be like, that simple, that easy. Yes. And let me know when you do it, because it blew my mind the first time. I was like, no, the years and the money and the energy and it's just this. Yes, I want us all to know this. When you are able to have your awareness, to see the things that are getting in your way of you stepping into your more, you can notice them and then you bring it into your body. You are working both simultaneously. When you do that, you reach this magical sweet spot. The Buddhists call it the middle path. I literally have a middle path tattooed onto my arm, reminding me I'm a sensory hat girl. My brain is nuts. I need to see the things everywhere all of the time. When we can bring it into, oh, there's my awareness. I'm looking for it all the time. I'm going to show you how in a moment. And when I notice it, I step into my body. I become this embodied version of it. Then you hit the sweet spot and then your intuition leads more readily. Then your heart and soul is like this way and your brain's like, really? And you believe that over this. That's when you're stepping into your more in powerful ways. So for all of this to land, for that intuitive feeling to lead, to come out of our brain, to stop being so triggered, to not listen to the fiend in our brain, to actually feel grateful for what we've got, to feel the feelings without being overwhelmed, we have to make space for the more. So I'm going to give us an exercise now so you can go away and you can practice this, because that's my experience. Is I'm not going to believe it until I see it, but I'm going to give everything and anything a go. If it promises expansion, I'm in. So if you're really in and you truly want more, go out and play with this today and come back and tell me how you get on. So what do you know and what do you feel is calling you into expansion right now? What do you know is a situation you're like, if this was different, I know I'd be calling in my more. What is it that you want to focus on? And maybe when you're sat here right now, you're like, I don't know, things are pretty cool. Things are pretty sweet. Go out and play. And then watch when you feel, and the body is such a cool sign, when you feel that nervous system switching into the sympathetic nervous system, you get tightness somewhere, you get tingling somewhere, you feel like, oh my God, something's wrong, even though it's not really that huge, but your body and your mind are having this reaction to it. Notice that. Is it your boss at work? Is it the promotion? Is it your partner? Is it when you'd like a baby and you're thinking about a baby? Is it that you'd like more money to be spending in your world? Is it that you want to move somewhere new? What is it that you feel really called to as you're here in this only moment that exists right now, you and me together? What do you want? What gets to be different? What area are you going to be looking into right now? Now, as I'm playing with this, because I'm always seeking expansion, I'm always looking for more, because I believe that's why we're here, to expand into the biggest, greatest, most favorite version of ourselves. I don't rely on brain power alone. That's being very top heavy. That's working from the top down. And that doesn't work for me. And if you're this far into this, I'm guessing you relate to my story and my work, and that isn't working for you. So, what you get to do and what I do is whatever it is that you want to focus on and you want to call change into and you want to create something different, ascribe a sense to it. Create a sensory something that is going to remind you every time you see it. Now, you don't have to worry about my colors and my things. Like, if you're in my world, you will know this like the back of your hand. You will know it off by heart. You'll be looking for these areas because I teach it in such a way that it becomes really easy. Everything is geared towards ease in my world. If you're not, or even if you are and you're like, I want to play with something different, then create a totem. Get something that is going to remind you of this thing that you want to make different, and go out into the world. And when that thing comes up, say it is that you want to create a better dynamic with you and your husband, and you get home and you walk in, and the first thing he does is say the thing that you know triggers you, and you feel it in your body, and you're like, I shouldn't be reactive, and yet. When you're in, or at the other side of it, which is a lot of the time where it happens, like, oh, I was definitely triggered and I jumped at him. Let me reflect and let me look back. Have something that reminds you to be on the lookout for that. So it can be a smell, it can be a taste, it can be a color, it can be anything. So when you notice it, you're heightening that awareness. Like, don't just think about it when you're in your therapy session. Think about it in your real life when you're going to the toilet and you're washing your hands and you notice the color of your hat and you're like, what am I like? Where's my brain right now? Is it triggered by something? Am I thinking about the thing? Bring it into your living, waking life. And as you're going through the world and through your life, when you feel yourself triggered, when you feel that feeling in your body, you get to bring your energy and your awareness bottom up. Remember the sweet stuff in the middle. So the awareness, the totem is calling you to be aware in your life outside of the mat. And suddenly you have the awareness. It might just be after the moment, it might be in the moment, but you're noticing it. When you do that, you're going to do this exercise. It's so easy. It's so easy. It does not need to be as complex as the brain wants it to be. It wants to unpack all the stories and what it means, when actually we just need to see it playing out in our reality right now and go, I ain't going there, even though everything in me wants to. And to be able to do it, you're going to do a mudra. You're going to put your finger and your thumb together to create a circle, and you're going to let these relax. So you're going to do this to begin with, and then you're going to do a fire breath through the nose, in through the nose, out through the nose. And with each exhale, so you're going to go in through the nose, and with your exhale, you're going to pull your tummy button in, and you're going to force that air out. So you're going to go in, relax the tummy, and out through the nose, and force your tummy button towards the spine and push out. And you're going to do that breath until you feel lightness, until you feel like, ooh, okay, I cannot think about the thing that my brain wants to overthink about. And I cannot think about how angry and triggered I am by it. And I cannot let the voices of everybody else that has a different opinion on this, that went before me, of how I'm doing it wrong, or that none of that can exist when I'm doing this breath. So you do this fire breath and you do it until you feel the lightness. Don't pass out, especially if you're on the loo or something. Just do it to a point where you just feel nice and light. Now, if it's loud, if it's a big trigger and you're here and you're with it, you are going to alchemize in ways that your brain is going to go. It's going to have a brain orgasm and it feels like. If it's big, bring your hands up. So shoot them up in the air as you go up through the nose and then shoot them down as you draw your tummy button in and breathe out your nose. That will add, that physical movement will add an extra power to take your mind away from the top heavy stuff and just be in your body and in the moment of it. When you've done that, you can then sit with your hands either up if you're feeling cold. A lot of the time, if we're very top heavy, we're already open to the field, we've already had awakenings. A lot of the time, our hands want to be facing the earth and we want to ground. We're asking the earth to hold us. So put your hands down and just breathe. And then say Sut Nam. And you can just hum it, or you can sing it, or you can just hum through the throat. It doesn't matter, but it can be a Sut Nam. Sut no, that is calling all of these energy centers within your body when we're working bottom up to be supportive, to hold you, to bring everything into balance very quickly. Whatever it was will be fading. Now be on the lookout for when you get up from this, your brain will want to go there and you get to decide. It does get to be this easy if you want it to be. The brain will say it's not, but show yourself, what if I go about my world, and if this comes up again, I promise myself to do this exchange. I'm going to wear my colors. I'm going to go out into the world. I'm going to notice where I want to be pulled back into the spaces that don't serve me. I want to be unpicking everything and understanding everything, but actually I'm being called to ground. I'm being called into my body. I'm being there and doing this. Then you repeat it. And if you play with this today, I would love for you to let me know what, because it always blows my mind. Even now, years in after teaching this, it blows my mind how transformative this is. And if you have your own practices, I hope this is supplementary and you're like, oh, I didn't think to add the totems. I didn't think to add this bit. I hope this has been really helpful. If you would like my sensory guide, I can send that over to you for free as well. I'm more than happy to. If this really lands and resonates and you want to know a little bit more about any of the fine formula areas, if there's one in particular, like that's the one, I've got some free resources that I can send you on that. I can send you the sensory guide. I'm also always doing programs and classes. So if you're feeling called to this work, you're like, Emma, this sounds glorious, and I know that we would vibe, then please send me a message. I'm most available and active on Instagram. So More Than This by Emma Upton on Instagram. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for being here. Please let me know your experience. Much love to you.